Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council, Tuesday, the 26th of July. Before we start, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, and in fact, I'd like to acknowledge all traditional owners. So with that, attendances, apologies and approved leave of absence. We have an approved leave of absence from Councillor Skender. Is there any is there any applications for leave of absence? Nothing? Thank you. Declarations of interest. I have a declaration of interest from Councillor Cottrell. On item 9.1, elected member motion reopening of French Street, Coral Bay. The nature of Councillor Cottrell's interest is proximity, and that's due to him. He rents a site on the corner of Bankshire and French Street. When we get to that. Okay, I'll check that. So thank you. Questions taken on notice from previous meeting. There's nil. Public question time. We have the following questions have been submitted by Mr. Albert Winder of Carnarvon. Why hasn't Carnarvon Shire had the resources to mow front verges, front fences to the main roads from houses, residential in brackets? The Shire is responsible. I am a rate payer. Does everybody want me to read the whole answer out, or are you happy to read it yourself? I'm happy to read it out if you wish for me to read it out. Yeah. Oh, sorry, yes, of course, live streaming. My apologies, please. So the answer to that is, up until the year before last, the Shire was undertaking verge mowing at least once or twice every year. This was a strain on resources which we simply could not sustain, particularly after periods of sustained and frequent rain, such as the weather experienced over the last winter and the start of this year. The Shire encourages residents and businesses to take pride in their streets and community by tending to the verge outside their property. A maintained verge can also assist as an additional fire break for your property. If each property owner or resident tends to their own verge area when mowing their lawn, it will be an enormous help in keeping grasses and other plants under control and streets looking their best. Alternatively, there are contractors in town who can undertake this work for businesses, property owners and residents. The Shire will continue to maintain all properties and land owned and all managed by the Shire. The new public places and local government property law includes verge maintenance responsibilities, and this local law is presented to Council in today's agenda. Essentially, the local law states that if the owner of the adjoining property wants to have a lawn or other permissible verge treatment, then it is their obligation and responsibility to maintain that verge of their residence or property. I trust this is satisfactory, and if you have any queries, please contact the Shire by emailing shire@carnarvon.wa.gov.au or speaking to the staff at the Administration Office. The following question has been submitted by Mr. Alistair Brogan of Coral Bay. Sorry, there was a second question. The second question is, how come no domestic airlines fly north of Carnarvon, e.g. Port Hedland, Karratha and Exmouth? The answer to that is Rex Airlines, who are the licensed operator to fly to Carnarvon from Perth, do not operate north of Carnarvon. They are not licensed to do so. That's it. Now, the following question has been submitted by Mr. Alistair Brogan of Coral Bay. My question is directed towards item 9.1, elected member motion / reopening of French Street, Coral Bay. Question, in the background statement it states, as the road closure was not carried out by the local government, nor was appropriate public notice given to invite public submission, this matter now needs to be rectified. The answer to that statement is, this statement is, oh sorry, no, keep going, this is continued on. The statement is factually incorrect. In approximately 2009, Mr. Avon Davey, a Coral Bay resident at the time, approached council to close the road to reduce the flow of traffic on the dirt road for safety reasons. Banksia Drive has been opened to provide access to the fuel station and boat ramp via a bitumised road. Council approved the closure and supplied the plastic barriers to close the road. Council does not provide council minutes on the website dating back that far, so I'm unable to verify the process that was undertaken. However, I can confirm the closure was not carried out without consultation and the involvement of council. Does council keep records of works undertaken by council officers? The safety of pedestrians is paramount in Coral Bay. The road is available for pedestrian and bicycle through traffic. However, we would request that vehicular traffic continue to be restricted as it currently is. The two main accommodation areas of Bayview are divided by French Street. The children's playground, tennis courts and swimming pool are located adjacent to French Street. Can you scroll it up, please? Bayview is very much a family-orientated resort, and the numbers of children staying with us has increased considerably since the through road was instigated in 2009. With no police presence in Coral Bay, it is very difficult to control speed on roads. Reopening French Street to through traffic will greatly increase the danger to children on holiday in Coral Bay. Are you happy if I provide this? Yeah, so in answer to that, the council member is going to move his motion, which will be considered. And if once the decision is made by council on the motion that's been put forward, the required processes will be implemented for whatever that decision is, and it will follow proper and due process. The council staff, after diligently searching through our council meeting records going back to 2009, there has been no actual council motion to close that road at all, and there is no record of that process being initiated and approved by council. Okay, thank you. So that is that for the public questions. Thank you. Confirmation and receiving of minutes. We have the minutes from the special council meeting of the 2nd of June and the ordinary meeting of council 28th of June. I'm happy to accept them as one motion, councillors. So I have a motion, please, Councillor Maslen. Thank you. Councillor Vanderloo. Is there any discussion or debate on this item, councillors? There being no discussion or debate, that is adopted unanimously. Thank you. Receiving of the minutes of the Walgett Gascoyne Zone meeting, the 24th of June 2022. Once again, Councillor Maslen. Seconder, please, Councillor Langley. Thank you. Councillors, is there any discussion, questions or debate on this one? There being none, thank you. Announcements by the President without discussion. Just alert councils to, at the end of the meeting, I'll be moving a member's motion regarding where we're going to hold the council meeting next in August. Petitions, presentations, petitions and memorials. Departmental reports. Oh, sorry, my mistake, councillors. We have the elected members' motion. It's last, isn't it? Mm-hmm. I'm just getting mixed up here. Yeah. So 7.1.1 actions performed under delegated authority. Councillor Maslen, Councillor Horton. Councillors, is there any debate?
Sure, if I may, we have a gallery for the information, general public. These motions are going through our procedural. It's not a matter of for discussion. It is simply put for recording purposes to acknowledge that council has seen. That's why there's no extensive debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fuller. No, I'll take that as a statement. There's no further discussion or debate. That's it. Thank you. Item 7.1.2, councillors, this item is by absolute majority. Annual review of the Shire of Carnarvon delegations register, and I'm sure Mrs. Selby will join me in saying thank you so much for delegating the job of going through those delegations to myself and Mrs. Selby, and I think we diligently, and with the help of Mrs. Hill, diligently applied ourselves to that process. Thank you, Councillor Maslin. You've moved that motion. Councillor Vanderloo seconded it. Record that, Mr. Hill. Thank you. Is there any debate, councillors?
I'm moving the motion. Just like to say on behalf of the council, we appreciate the many hours, including a long flight home, and hours put in. And thank you to the CEO and Shire President for taking that job on board. And I believe that will translate into much smoother operations within the Shire machine. It is. Oh no, especially Mrs. Hill for keeping you both on track. That notice as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Maslin. Councillors, is there any debate? No debate, no discussion, further discussion. Councillor, we'll take that as a adopted unanimous. Thank you. The item 7.1.3, freedom of information statement. A mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Fullerton, Councillor Vanderloo. Councillor Fullerton.
So thank you for that. I recommend this motion to council. There is extensive work that's done on freedom of information, and to the staff and everybody that's joined in with this, it's fairly extensive. I won't go through the changes, the thickness of schedules, so I'll just recommend it to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. Is there any debate, councillors? There being no debate, we'll adopt that unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Item 7.1.4, Shire of Carnarvon review of wards and representation, July 2022. Councillor Fullerton. Councillor Vanderloo. Councillor Fullerton, I'm quite sure you would like to open the debate.
Indeed, thank you, sir. I make it clear to all concerned that this is a procedural matter at this point for a review of the ward system. The ward system provides for electorates within the boundary, as in the state you would have electorates of Central, Kimberley, and so on and so forth. And this piece of administration operation at this stage provides to have that particular structure. It invites debate. It is not making a decision as to whether we do anything with our wards here today. It is opening up for the review and the review only. I will be talking about equity and equality at a later date. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton.
Did you want to convert Ms. Campbell?
I'm sure he'll be brought up later. Are there any speakers against the motion? Are there any further speakers for the motion? All those in favour?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The item 7.1.5 has been withdrawn due to a significant submission being sent to the Shire, which they're still working through. So, councillors, this will come back to us in August. Thank you very much. Item 7.1.6, Organisational restructure 6-monthly review. I have a mover, please.
Yeah.
Councillor Farina,
Langley.
Councillor Langley. Councillor Farina, would you like to open the debate, please?
No debate.
Thank you. Councillors, is there any debate on this item? There being no debate, adopted unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Item 7.1.7, Shire of Carnarvon Revenue Strategy. Move it, please. Councillor Cochran. Councillor Vandermeer. Councillor Cochran, is there any debate, councillors? There being no debate, no discussion. It's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Item 7.2.1, creditors' report of accounts paid under delegation 1st to the 30th of June 2022. Councillor Maslin, Councillor Vanderleer. Councillors, once again, is there any debate? There being no debate, it's adopted unanimously. Councillors, the long last 7.3.4, the proposed Shire of Carnarvon Public Places and Local Government Property Amendment Local Law. This is by absolute majority, councillors. Ivan Mover, please. Councillor Maslin. Councillor Vanderleer. Is there any debate, councillors?
Here you go.
So I acknowledge again, the work done by staff here, that there's considerable amount of work in all these local government reviews. It's a really, really big job. It's almost up 42. And thank you, Mrs. Selby, and please extend that to your staff. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Fullerton. Councillor Maslin, did you wish to speak to the motion?
No, it's already covered it.
Thank you. Is there any debate at all, councillors? There being no debate, that is adopted unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Chair. 7.3.2, Reconciliation Action Plan, Reflect July 2022, July 2023. Councillor Maslin, Councillor Vanderleer. Councillors, is there any debate? I will say, Mr. Selby, when we met with the Aboriginal PBCs in Waikato this morning, we're extremely pleased to hear that the local government here was adopting a reconciliation action plan. They went out of their way to let us know that. Very pleased that that's happening today. So with that, is there any debate? No debate, that's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, item 7.3.3, scheme amendment number 2, local planning scheme 13, Binning Road. This is the old Corning station and change of use of the land. Councillor Fullerton. Seconder, please. Councillor Maslin. Councillors, is there any debate?
So I thank the proponents for bringing this major tourism attraction, economic factor, major plan. I have to say that Mr. Hay is an old acquaintance and friend of mine. Opposition. It's a great step forward. I also acknowledge the heritage, come to later, the heritage committee's concern about public access, which is being dealt with in this document. And all I can do is wish them Godspeed. Let's get on with it, because I believe that this will have consequences positive consequences for our town, tourism, our economy, our society, and still retain the social enjoyment of the beach access and all bits and pieces, and looking at the natural environment with a concern. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Fullerton. Councillors, is there, and that is, I'll take that as a statement, is there any actual debate, councillors? There's been no debate. That's adopted unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Tilley. Item 7.3.4, proposed local development plan, Binning Road, Abigail and Carnarvon, which is flow on from the previous agenda item. Councillor Mazza, you're moving that motion. Councillor Vanderleer, second. Councillors, is there any debate on this? There being no debate, it's adopted unanimously. Item 7.3.5, request to cancel outstanding infringement notice. Councillor Maslin. Second. Councillor Angela, thank you. Councillors, is there any?
There's a dot point there.
There was. I'd requested that we add a dot point.
Control processes in place to compliance. Yeah.
Sorry, councillors, 2 seconds. And this is my fault. Okay, councillors, item C will read, ensure processes are in place to maintain payment compliance. So that the concerns that were raised this morning.
So it's as the mover and the second.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Still happy with that, councillor? Yeah. Okay. I think that covers the concerns raised. Yeah. Okay. So with that change to the motion, councillors, both councillor Maslin and Angela are happy. Is there any debate?
So I'll just make a note that this is quite clearly an amnesty for outstanding and historical big fees, and it's not meant to be a tax avoidance scheme or a tax evasion scheme where you simply don't pay your fee and then sooner or later the council will write it off. No, that will not happen. It will be chased. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, councillors, is there any debate? There being no debate, it's adopted unanimously. Thank you, Mrs. Hill. Item 7.4.1, Regional Road Project Resealing Carnarvon Mullawall Road, councillor Maslin. And this is for part 1, councillors. Which, so part 1 we're dealing with. Councillor Maslin, second was Councillor Vanderleer. Is there any debate on part 1, councillors?
Yes, 1 and 2.
That's the history. Okay, my mistake. Sorry, councillors. Offers recommendation parts 1 and 2. Okay, Maslin and Vanderleer. Is there any debate, councillors? That's been adopted. Item 7.4.2, WA Bike National Grant Acceptance. So I'll just make sure I get this one right. Councillors, officers' recommendation. Can I remove it, please? That one, Councillor Vanderleer. Councillor Maslin. Once again, There's no debate, councillors will take it. Thank you, that's adopted unanimously, thank you. Item 7.4.3, request for tender provision of cleaning services. Councillor Maslin, Councillor Vanderwerf. Councillors, is there any debate? Part one.
Mhm.
There's been no debate on part one?
No.
That's adopted unanimously. Officer's recommendation, part two, councillors. Councillor Vanderloo, Councillor Maslin,
Yeah.
Councillor Vanderloo.
Same.
Once again, is there any debate? Silence is golden. Thank you, councillors. That's adopted unanimously, Mrs Hill. 7.4.4, solar eclipse funding. There are two parts. The first part is by absolute majority. By the mover, please. Councillor Fullerton. Councillor Langley, you second it. Thank you. Councillor Fullerton.
I remember the days of the America's Cup and big events. So I place that small caveat. But yeah, the world's a modern place, in which case, not building velodromes, we might get something out of it. It's a bit of darkness, and some photos. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Great idea.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. Does anybody wish to debate that? That being the case, that's adopted unanimously, Mrs Hill. Officer's recommendation, part two. I'll move it, please. Councillor Maslin,
Yeah.
you put the hand up.
Yeah.
Councillor Langley. Is there any debate on part two, councillors? There being no debate on part two, that's adopted unanimously. Thank you. I'll refer you back to the index. Do I have any applications for leave of absence? No. Thank you. Motions of which previous notice has been given. Councillor Fullerton, you have an elected member's motion. Councillor Cottrell, you've got a proximity interest in this. You may leave the room, please. Okay.
Can I move the motion?
You can move your motion, stand up and move your motion.
I'm moving a completely different motion. Can I move a motion that Councillor Cottrell, being the representative for Coral Bay, be allowed back in the room to discuss this motion that's been put forward by Councillor Fulton?
Is this to join the debate? only?
Join the debate only and not in the decision making, but actually joining the debate being the council on the ground in Coral Bay.
Do I have a seconder for that?
Second, but I wish to make an amendment.
Do we deal with it first?
You know, discussed it.
Okay.
Move it.
Could you stand up and make the amendment?
I amend that he has participation in the vote and exercises his right as a normal councillor under section 5.68 of the local government.
So you're requesting that he stays for the vote?
Correct. Yes, sir.
Council, I will alert you to the fact that Councillor Cottrell has advised me that he wishes to take no part in the vote.
Okay.
More than happy to take part in the discussion. Okay. So you still want to move that amended part?
Oh, there's no point. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bullock. Sorry, Mrs. Hill. So, councillors, the motion right now is that Councillor Cottrell be allowed to discuss the matter but not participate in their voting. Is there any debate on that? There being no debate, that's adopted unanimously. Someone let him back in, please. Councillor Cottrell, council has moved a motion that's been adopted unanimously to allow you back in to take part in the discussion and debate on the matter, but have no part in the voting. So you'll have to leave the room once the debate is finished. Thank you. Councillor Fullerton, would you like to put forward your member's motion, please?
I'll never require a seconder.
Right. Read,
No, hang on, you got to read it first.
yeah, can you present your motion, please?
I move that council resolves to direct the chief executive officer to commence the process of reopening French Street, Coral Bay to traffic, including design work to ensure the road is designed to reduce traffic congestion in the area and facilitates the safe movement of traffic and pedestrians, and seek stakeholder consultation.
Thank you, councillor Fullerton. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Vandermeer, thank you. Councillor Fullerton, do you wish to speak to the motion?
So, it has come to my attention through physically being present at Coral Bay and in that particular area known as French Street, that it has obstructions in it. And I note a letter today from Mr. Brogan stating it goes back to 2009. I didn't know that. And I don't think it's pertinent to this question. What I do know, I believe, that the road is part of our road network, and I believe that obstructing traffic in a roadway is in fact an offence. So I'm not interested in the witch hunt or who did what and who said what. Absolutely no interest. But time has moved on in any event, and I find that obstruction in the roadway is interfering with the road network and the flow of traffic in the modern age. And in particular, one of the items of concern is that vehicles towing other vehicles, like caravans, are being obliged to go up to as far as the hotel at the very western end and circle and come back again into Robinson Street because it's a dead end, a very long dead end. And if I was an urban geographer, I'd really seriously object to it. But it's not only long, it goes through a really, really heavy foot traffic situation where there's a lot of other vehicles, and it's not a particularly wide road, and vehicles are now getting jammed up. And that can't do any good to anything. However, if the road traffic flow was allowed to go unimpeded, then vehicles processing along Robinson Street, finding themselves not able to take their caravans in the caravan park, simply go up French Street, join back to Banksia Drive, and can safely exit the other way, thus reducing the duplication of traffic flow in Robinson Street and allowing the traffic to rise up and out to escape, if you like. I understand that traffic must be managed, but we can come down to 40 kilometres an hour if we have to, and start the process rolling. What this does here today is it instructs staff, administration, to commence those activities to remove the obstructions and whatever formation of the road that has to be done after that, well, that's what we have to do. But right here, right today, I ask council to support removing the obstructions so that the traffic in French Street can flow as it's meant to be. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Fullerton. Do I have any speakers against the motion?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, councillors, for allowing me to take part in this debate. I'm not against the part of the motion to investigate and formalise the arrangement on French Street. That's good that needs to be done. At the moment, there is no formal arrangement for what's there. But I'm against the wording of the motion to reopen the wording of the motion to reopen French Street. Mentioned congestion. In my opinion, and talking to most members of the community, there's not actually too much of a congestion issue in Coral Bay at the moment. The main issue is 6 hours a day, every Saturday, when all the vans come into town. I don't think this is going to help that situation. I think this will actually only make it worse. Surprisingly enough, the moment they can only go one way, they work out where they're going and sort themselves out. You give them options, it only makes things worse. So Might sound silly, but it's definitely the way it works. A few things I want council to be aware of before you would consider opening the road. It's not a road as you'd expect it. Any opening of the road is going to require quite a bit of infrastructure, a lot of expense for the council. Don't think we're in a position to do that anytime soon. Currently, all of French Street is completely maintained by the caravan parks, dust suppression, management of the area. There's quite often, every time it rains, there's quite a lot of erosion that happens that has to be repaired. At the moment, that's completely undertaken by the caravan park. If there was a resolution to open that road, I believe that they would cease any maintenance on that road and leave it up to Shire. Sorry. Need to be aware that in Coral Bay, if there is any unsafe driving on that road, we're not in a position just to call the police. And it's hard to educate people in Coral Bay. Get someone that's driving too fast, tell them to slow down, that's not an issue, but you're going to get another load of people next week that have that exact same issue. So it's hard to educate people, and we can't be calling the police and stuff like that. So it is up to the caravan parks to manage that traffic, and they've just done what they can to make it safe. The main issue of opening this road is going to be liability. I know it may have been closed without a permission of the Shire, but if the Shire deliberately move a motion and reopen that road against the wishes of people that have shut it for safety reasons, it definitely leaves the Shire liable if the unthinkable was to happen shortly after. As much as letter of the law, the road's meant to be open, it's going to be pretty cut and dry if the Shire open that road and then something happens shortly after. So I just mainly want the Shire to consider all that. I think any changement to that arrangement should probably wait until the next management plan in Coral Bay has come out. And I think that's just about everything. Yeah, thanks for letting me take part of the debate. And like I said, I think council should definitely investigate and formalise the arrangement, but I'm definitely against any resolution that puts us on a path to only reopening the road to traffic. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cotterill. Are there any further speakers for the motion?
Yeah, I think I'm for the motion. I'm a bit confused about congestion and safety being reasons not to do it, although I understand the operational side of it. But I think, and my reasons for that are that congestion and safety issues seem to have been the reason for not doing things in Coral Bay. And I draw council's attention back to mobile trading licences in certain places that we didn't support because of congestion issues. So I don't understand that congestion isn't actually an issue in Coral Bay at the moment, because I think that was why we didn't support a mobile trading licence. And from a safety perspective, I think that was also a consideration, that there was too much traffic on the streets going in and out for the reasons that Councillor Thornton explained. Coral Bay is not a very big town to look at a map of, and unless vehicles can get around some other way, I don't see how you avoid the issue of them going down and doing a 20-point turn at the end, coming past all those tight congested areas that we're talking about. I do understand Councillor Cotterill's concerns about the safety of reopening French Street, but those are concerns that I think will be investigated and mitigated through the design consultation and various other points of the infrastructure team at Shire will have to go through before that's being opened. It's not simply going to be reopened tomorrow and a free-for-all, so they will all be considerations. So for that reason, I support Councillor Thornton's motion. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Vanderloo. Councillor, is there any further speakers against the motion?
I'm obviously against the motion. I think it's common sense approach. I think with those playgrounds right there, and it's pretty, I don't know, I just can't conceive it being a road, really. It's bitumised or graded for public access. I think it's just been shut off for the caravan park.
Thank you, Councillor Langley. Further speakers for the motion? Well, with that, councillors, I will speak for the motion. Along the lines of, and I think the start of that last paragraph says it all. However, the road closure is not compliant with the requirements of S.3.50 of the Local Government Act. So if nothing else, Councillor Fullerton's motion has brought to Council's attention that we are not compliant with the Local Government Act with the state of that road right now. So this has triggered a process to ensure, one way or another, we're going to be compliant. The decision will be made on what will happen with that road. In line with that, I'm quite sure, and I am aware, the work has already started on how to deal with a proposal on how to deal with that road with mixed use, being pedestrian, bike, and possibly vehicles. So right at this point in time, it would be wrong of this council not to support this motion to investigate, conduct consultation on this process to reduce the fact, or remove the fact that we are non-compliant with the Local Government Act. It is functioning outside the functions of council not to support something that would make us compliant with the Act. So with that, I'd request that all councillors support this motion. Thank you. Councillor Fullerton, would you like to close the debate?
Indeed, sir. Thank you very much for that.
Right.
I recognise.
Councillor, you may stay until the debate's finished.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. Councillor?
Thank you, sir. I acknowledge and thank Councillor Cottrell for re-engaging in the discussion. And I understand the concerns put. Thank you very much for that. The points I take from this is the caravan park owners are servicing and maintaining the roadway. As President Smith says, well, that's actually the role of council. So thank you for doing that. However, it's beyond their scope to do so. As to public liability, I don't believe the council can obviate its legislative responsibilities. It simply can't do that. And historically, there's been way too much. That's how we used to do it, so that's how we do it now. And of course, it's restricted to reopening the roadway and further investigation carries on. So on that basis, I thank all concerned and I strongly recommend this motion to council.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cottrell, you were very close. Councillors, I will put the elected member motion to the vote. All those in favour?
Aye.
That's all. This is still for. All those against? Still against. Thank you. Does anybody want their name recorded?
Yeah.
Can someone let Councillor Cottrell in? Councillor Cottrell, the vote was put, the ayes had it by 4, the nays were 2. Thank you. Councillors. Moving right along. Questions from members without notice. Are there any questions from members without notice?
Yes.
Councillor
It's only about 6 months ago it was brought to the table and I think it was knocked back for the plantation ward growers to have their tip taking their rubbish to the tip for 2 months open tip to help with the flood mitigation. Can I bring that back to the table, please, to be reviewed and be looked at to help the growers? Yep. Please.
Okay. I will defer to the CEO. to
Yes.
answer that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Councillor. In October this year, Council did indeed consider this matter and deferred it, waiting for clarity on the ongoing management of compliance of illegally dumped waste. So, and that compliance work is part of the action plan emerging from the flood mitigation working group that is being done over the next 12 months or so.
Thank
So
you.
we'll bring it back to council once that compliance work has been done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Selby. Councillors, is there any further questions without notice?
So I have, I have 3 if I may indulge, councillor.
I have them here. I was going to bring them up, but urgent business approved by the President. Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. First up, councillors, we're on item 11 now, urgent business approved by the presiding member. Seeing I can approve them on councillors, and we have a bit of time up our sleeves. So I'd like to move a motion, councillor, that the August council meeting be shifted, the council meeting agenda forum, and then council meeting be shifted to Kunwadu Maya, the Aboriginal Cultural Centre, for the August council meeting. Can I get a seconder for that, please? Councillor Maslow, thank you. Does council want me to stand and talk about why, or are you happy for that to go to the vote?
Happy to go to the vote.
Happy to go to the vote. Councillors, is there any debate at all on that? There being no debate, that's adopted unanimously. Thank you. Councillors, I think most of you know that the Pigeon Racing Federation of WA have requested a review of our Health Amendment Local Law 73A to permit the release of racing pigeons in our district. That's basically the motion, Mrs. Hill. They've requested that we permit, because I think we need to deal with this and get an answer back to them quite quickly. Councillors, as I've discussed. So does someone wish to move that motion? Councillor Fullerton, thank you. Councillor Vanderloo. Does council need any more information on this?
So would you mind to read us the letter briefly?
The whole letter?
I think the
Yes,
last
I'll
paragraph.
take the important parts. Councillor Fullerton. Further to our previous correspondence and subsequent conferencing with your council members and follow-up with Mr Perry and his recent replacement, Mr Dane Wallace, it is probably now time to update you on our undertaking towards resolving the feral pigeon problem in Carnarvon as a goodwill gesture towards permitted to release our racing pigeons in the Carnarvon district. Sorry, people. Make sure I get this right. Mr. Brian Brennan wrote this. He goes on to say that he accompanied their pest control technician to Carnarvon on 3 occasions, one on the 15th and 16th of June, the 20th and the 22nd of June, and the 29th of June to the 1st of July 2022. And Mr. Wallace from Shire gave us a conducted tour of the town, pointing out known locations where feral pigeons roost and breed. On their second visit to the Carnarvon CBD, the industrial area as well, they encountered flocks of 30 to 40 pigeons. In the afternoon, they returned to the CBD and industrial area with a full crop of seeds. This presented a significant challenge as pigeons with a full crop of food are reluctant to eat. We then set about to strategically set grain laced with, I can't say the word, alpha lauros in and on top of the buildings, which resulted in bagging 100 pigeons. On our previous knowledge and success, the strategy on the plantations on this occasion was foiled by the presence of hundreds of short-billed corella, as this is a protected species. As a result, we again concentrated more on the CBD and industrial areas which we heavily targeted. They go on to talk about the buildings which they targeted. They believe they reduced the numbers of birds by up to a third. And Mr. Wallace went on to say the feral pigeon problem was long-standing. Long story as mentioned. While we were there, we also encountered a few difficulties in baiting due to some of the feeding sites for grain species are common to indigenous birds as the little corella, the galah, crested pigeons and doves. And we had heard a report of some of them fattening the pigeons to eat. So, they had problems getting their poison out and in place where it wouldn't hurt indigenous birds. In summary, the situation was much more extensive than we had anticipated. We undertook 3 trips and could have made extensive inroads into eradicating the population, save for the fact of indigenous bird populations frequenting the same widely dispersed sites and requires much closer attention over an extended period than we could devote to the exercise. without eradicating or mitigating the feed sources, or at least isolating the feed supply into concentrated areas for subsequent baiting, the depleted populations will quickly rise again. It is as much a housekeeping problem as a feral pigeon problem. We also believe we have made a case whereby your Mr. Wallace will confirm there were no banded pigeons found during our baiting program. But they did say earlier on they found a pigeon that appeared to, they believe, came off a boat, a passing ship. And they trust that we will allow them to release. But I found an interesting one here. The plantations are also proving to be a problem due to the seeds from melons and other vegetation, which are plentiful in that, because apparently pigeons are flying out during the day to the plantations, filling up out there, flying back in the evening, and ignoring the baits they're putting out. So your plantation owners need to behave yourself.
Oh, yeah, we need to stop growing, eh?
Right, okay. I was being a bit sarcastic, I think. Anyway, so basically with all of that, they're asking that we review our decision to not permit them to release their racing pigeons. Does that satisfy you, Councillor Fullerton?
Oh, I'm most content, sir. I've been somewhat of a pigeon feeder myself on other occasions, and being an old man. Yeah, may I speak to the motions?
Yes, you may speak to the motion, Councillor Fullerton.
Look at the pigeon fanciers, kindly old men with very bored wives who like to see them get in their trucks and drive away with their pigeons, and to return at some later stage, and the old men as well. Look, cut them a break. Cut them a break. If you want to be a pigeon fancier, you can be a pigeon fancier, and by their own admission, the birds will fly away. Their birds will fly away and leave us with our birds. And they've done it in fair exchange. But just be nice. Let them have some fun. Let their wives have a break. Let them monkey the birds.
Councillor Fuller, I must note that when the pigeons are released, they're on the back of a truck driven by two men. Full stop. Thank you.
Yes, sir, I understand that. That's why I said the wives are having a break, sir.
From two men. Okay. Does anybody wish to speak against the motion? Sorry, yeah, that was for?
We're just reviewing the local law.
Well, they've asked us to review the local law and in fact permit them to release pigeons in Carnarvon.
So should the motion be to review the local law to incorporate, sorry, it says it right there, I'll read it further. It's right there, well done.
Do I have a speaker against the motion?
Can I, just be as much a question, but our initial motion was to ban pigeon racing, or the release of pigeons in Carnarvon until to ban, and we agreed to revisit that in the event that our local pigeon population could be eradicated. Is that right?
Yep.
And the letter is indicating that the local pigeon population hasn't been eradicated.
Yep. Councillor Cochrane.
Can I just confirm that this motion is to review the local law or not to review the local law?
Yeah, he's asked for a review,
Yes.
and in that review, he's asking that we allow them to change the local law to allow them to let.
But your motion is to do that review, is to go ahead with that review or not to go ahead?
No, the motion is to review
Yes.
and with the intention of allowing them to release.
Right, thank
Well,
you.
you can place the word to allow pigeon racing from Carnarvon instead of incorporate, but yeah.
To allow the release of racing pigeons from Carnarvon. Review local law to allow the release of racing pigeons within the Carnarvon area.
I'd like to speak against the motion. I think just potentially not to worry about the review at all, based on the evidence that presented that the bird population is still here and the problem it poses for the horticultural industry. I think they want to embrace pigeons, they can do it elsewhere.
Are there any further speakers for the motion? Are there any further speakers against the motion?
Yeah, I'll speak against the motion after seeing the added cost and burden of several businesses around town, one of them leading into in excess of $5,000 to have their building cleaned out. I strongly support, ask council to support not allowing pigeon racing to continue within the region of Carnarvon. Not that I don't want ladies to have a break from their husbands at times, but I just think that we need to get our control over the feral population we've got, which pose a real cost to establishable businesses and residents in Carnarvon. And urge council not to review the law and we'll keep it as it is, basically.
Thank you, councillor Maslow. Councillor, I will ask a question. Would council consider, because the Carnarvon area is the Shire of Carnarvon, so we've said they cannot release pigeons within the Shire of Carnarvon. They used to release them up at Barrowdale, if you recall. Would council be of a mind to allow them to release them from Mooral? Just as a thought, before we go into it. And we might not get asked for the norm. Councillor Fuller.
So that might have moved an amendment.
Oh, God.
You may, councillor Fuller.
Okay, so within the Shire of Carnarvon, the amendment would read, within the Shire of Carnarvon, but south of the Warming River.
Councillor, do you have a second? Who seconded that motion? Who moved the motion? Yes, I'm happy to second it. Yes. Approve that. Councillors, we'll deal with the amendment to the motion now. Is there a speaker for the amendment?
Yes, that would allay the concerns of the local town site, which Councillor Maslow has quite rightly pointed out, and the 60, 70 miles between here and Warramong. Okay, the wind favours them and come this way a little bit, but I think the birds will want to go home, and the chances are they're from the metropolitan area. They can read south of the 26th side, I think. Yeah, I strongly recommend that we sort of allow it within the Shire, but well clear of the town site. Thank you.
Speakers against the motion?
I'm sticking up for the brethren in Gelton. I don't think it's right. We should dump our problems literally and figuratively on the Shire of Greater Gelton, so the city of Greater Gelton. So, yeah, I'm against the motion as it is.
Thank you, councillor Maslin. Any further speakers for the motion? Any further speakers against the motion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, so councillors, I'll have to write back to Mr. Brian Brennan.
I'll vote for you.
I will write back to Mr. Brennan and say council reject. Motion. Thank you. Right, councillors, if you bear with me, I also have a letter from Councillor Dr. Fullerton, which he brings up the issue of the horticultural activity going on basically some Brickhouse Station up the end of Lawson Street. I think I'll hand that one straight over to Mrs. Selby to deal with that one. So it's the food bowl expansion area on Brickhouse Station is still zoned as pastoral, but it's actually an intensive horticultural activity and could have a significant change in value to that land on its rating. Another one from Councillor Fullerton regarding the $750 a week payment to individuals required to quarantine due to communicable disease countermeasures. It appeared on my desk this morning, it appeared here this morning, Mrs. Hill. Do you want to speak to this, Councillor Fullerton?
Yes, sir, I do. I'm most concerned in this matter. It's as to opening hours of the liquor shops. Can I?
Oh. Yeah,
I thought you dealt with the horticultural one, sorry.
yeah, we have. That Mr. Selby, I'll hand that over to Mr. Selby. Yeah, it's
Taken on notice.
taken on those. Sorry, so you explain it, then I'll explain what's happened since you've written that to me.
Explain the liquor hours.
Yeah, the liquor one.
There's a couple of events that occurred recently. It's the reintroduction of the $750 a week COVID payment that the previous federal government ended, but it has been since recently reinstituted. And it brings me to a point from my activities around the town. I noticed that the liquor shops specifically open at 10 a.m. And I note with consternation that there's a line, like the pictures when we were kids, all wanting to go in to buy booze at 10 a.m. in the morning. Well, I put it to you, it's been consumed at that stage. And I know that I was found once sitting on the footpath in front of the George Hotel in West Perth, waiting for it to open at 6 a.m. But that was in far younger days and perhaps not so responsible. So I understand that people want to drink. But my problem is that 10 a.m. leads to 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. People are hammered. And there's a flow of foot traffic towards David Brand Drive. And I believe and that's where the trouble starts. Now, a quick observation of the Department of Local Government, Sports and Cultural Industries reveals liquor restrictions almost surrounding the town of Carnarvon. Murchison, Pilbara, Kimberley. Many of those, most of them in point of fact, won't allow you to drink in motor vehicles, and they open at 12 o'clock. Well, I put it to you that 12 o'clock, it's kind of enough. And I don't mind a drink. My good lady wife is in the chamber, will tell you that he does not want to drink. But a 2-hour head start, it's leading to our problems. So I'm going to ask council to ask the liquor shops to be nice and say, hold on, we're not supplying until 12 noon, in line with the other areas around us. That might give us a 2-hour head start on some of the, I'd say, drunken behaviour. There are, I know, legislation and moves afoot where it can be enforced, but I'd much rather it was done in a nice way. Been asked by an old friend to cut that back. That's my second point.
Thank you, Councillor Fullerton. It's amazing how you brought that up now. With the work I've been doing with the Liquor Accord, partly because I chair it, Mrs. Janet Arnett arrives in Carnarvon in about an hour. She's the compliance officer with WAPOL for the sales of alcohol within WA. She will be attending the Liquor Accord meeting tomorrow and providing some advice to all the members of the Liquor Accord on liquor restrictions, the implementation of those, how and why, and the police will be providing the backup evidence of why those will be in place and continuing. The discussion will also be dealing with the opening hours with a mind to making change, because we all know all the issues that are occurring due to the overuse of liquor in this town. There'll also be discussion on the banned drinkers register. Mrs. Arnett, I think she's a senior sergeant, will be here for a week monitoring the activities of all the liquor outlets and ensuring their compliance, and also putting forward proposed changes that hopefully will make a change in our town. I think there's plenty of liquor out and about. I hope that sort of clears things up for you a little bit, and that there is something happening as we speak. So I'm looking forward to meeting Jeanette this afternoon, and we'll continue on tomorrow with the Liquor Accord meeting tomorrow. So I'm more than happy to provide an update to council at the next CIS. Thank you. And you had one more, Mr. Councillor Fullerton.
If I seek your indulgence, I thank councillors in the chamber for listening to me. This is again another thing technically outside the scope of the local authority. It's the functions of the Bank of Western Australia branch in Rollins Street, which appears to be open sometimes and not others. And the only thing people have said to me that's predictable about it is it's always closed when I go there. It's a banking service. It's central to our economy. It's a key issue, and I believe that the local authority, whilst it's outside their gambit, can ask the question of the Commonwealth Bank as to can you either staff your branch or close it down or do something intermittent fault stuff. So I'm no use to anybody.
So with that in mind, Councillor Fullerton, do you want me to write to the bank and ask them?
We've got that have to be a resolution, councillor, if you're happy to do it.
That's what I was about to, move a formal resolution that you request you write to Bank West and get some clarification of their intentions in the
Okay.
future.
So are you moving that motion, Councillor Nassau?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please? Councillor Fullerton. Councillors, on that motion, have you got witnesses?
Their intentions in the future relating to the opening of the branch.
To the ongoing operation.
Yeah.
Councillors, is there any debate on that? There being no debate, that has been adopted unanimously. Thank you. Can we adjourn? Councillors, if you bear with me, we're waiting on that report from Mr. Andrew Hammond. So what I'm suggesting is we adjourn the meeting for, wait a minute, the next matter we're going to discuss is closed to the public. So we'll just adjourn the meeting and we can turn that off because we're going to be closed to the public. Okay, so councillors, okay, so the motion to adjourn is for 20 minutes. And thank you, Councillor Fullerton. All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you. Councillor, I moved it. Councillor Fullerton seconded. And we're adjourned now for 20 minutes. Thank you, Dana. Turn that off. Thank you. Councillors, I'm just going to move the motion. Councillor Manley, all in favour? Yeah, councillors, with that, before you go, I there would have 5 more minutes when they're done, just with the council, complete that discussion at the start of this meeting. Because if I'm asked to do it, information. No, it's not a motion, I just need, yeah, the task you've said.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Okay, so. Sorry? Item 13 is the date of the next meeting is the Tuesday, the 23rd of August, 2022. With that, councillors, item 14 is the closure of the meeting. Thank you. Okay, so councillors, if you just bear with me, we'll just finish that